Tonight, hit-run horror. A disabled man struck and left for dead as he tried to cross the street in his wheelchair. Police are still hunting the driver. Disturbing details on the doomed plane that crashed into the sea off Jakarta. Passengers on the jet's previous flight say it was a roller coaster ride. A gun enthusiast's deadly rampage in 2 states. He killed his frail mother and his brother, all over money. Family tragedy. A father breaks down as he's jailed for almost 20 years for murdering his son in a fight over a burnt dinner. And we go inside the lavish Melbourne Cup Carnival marquees at Flemington. And they're all set to blast off.
This is 10 Eyewitness News. First at 5 with Stephen Quartermain.
Good evening. First, moment of impact. The shocking security camera vision of a hit-run driver slamming into a disabled man who was crossing a road in his wheelchair. Amazingly, the man survived and has spoken from his hospital bed, saying he just can't forget the terrifying moment. And a warning some may find the vision confronting. Here's Estelle Lewis.
Jude Anthony can't believe he survived to tell his story. The 33-year-old says a car came out of nowhere as he crossed Bourke Street at Docklands yesterday afternoon. Now he can't get that horrifying moment out of his mind.
When you go to the beach and when the waves hit you, you know that you rolling and you go through certain spinning and you don't know, and you get up and you feel like you are a couple of yards away on the beach. That's how I felt like.
The government worker was thrown over the top of the car, his wheelchair went flying, but the driver didn't stop.
It's absolutely disgraceful that someone would leave someone in the middle of the road after an impact of that nature and not try and render any assistance whatsoever.
Jude was paralysed by a bomb at the age of 11 as his family fled civil war in Sri Lanka. A wheelchair footballer and disability fundraiser, he now faces the possibility of more surgery and months of rehabilitation with injuries to his pelvis and spine.
And suddenly something happened like this, it's put you back, set back, and you have to retrain yourself and have to start from the scratch again and get back to my normal life.
Police know who the driver is and are working to track him down. Detectives believe the man's deliberately avoiding them and are urging him to hand himself in. The motorist in his 20s was last spotted on Latrobe Street where he dumped his hire car. Jude Anthony says he's just grateful to the people who came to help as he lay on the road.
Anything could have happened, so I definitely feel that there's someone was looking over me and giving me that kind of a luck.
Estelle Lewis, 10 Eyewitness News.
To breaking news, a jury has cleared a Braeside plumber of attempted murder after he pleaded not guilty to bashing an intruder, claiming he acted in self-defence. Emma O'Sullivan joins us. Emma, did he have anything to say?
Good evening, Stephen. The man in question, David Walter Grierson, didn't stop for a chat outside court. He seemed in quite a hurry to leave, which is understandable. He only responded when asked if he had any words for the jury. He said he wanted to thank them. He's been in custody since May last year. Police arrested him a couple of days after the alleged victim, Dean McGrath, broke into Mr Grierson's Braeside factory, and it can now be revealed the alleged victim in this case was a former police officer, a former Special Operations Group officer. The prosecution explained that Mr McGrath entered Mr Grierson's Braeside factory armed with a gun, demanding to be shown where money and drugs were hidden. He was violent, but at one stage he picked up a heavy statue and lost his balance. That's when the accused man, Mr Grierson, has picked up the gun and repeatedly bashed Mr McGrath in the head. Mr McGrath's body was then hid inside an air conditioning duct, and there was a plan hatched to dispose of it, but instead Mr Grierson ended up handing himself into police. This was originally a murder trial, but the charge was downgraded to attempted murder during the trial, and now, after 6 days of deliberations, a jury has acquitted David Grierson, and tonight he's getting his first taste of freedom in a long time.
Emma O'Sullivan reporting. More frightening details have emerged about the problems suffered by Indonesia's doomed Lion Air flight that crashed in the sea off Jakarta on Monday, killing 189 people. Passengers on the jet's previous flight say the experience was like a roller coaster, with dramatic descents that left some people violently ill. Candice White is in Indonesia. Candice, authorities are now inspecting all Boeing 737 MAX 8 planes belonging to the country's airlines.
They are indeed, Stephen, and that is on the order of Indonesia's Transport Ministry. This plane was only 2 months old and it should never have dropped out of the sky. Now, Lion Air has 11 of these models in its fleet, while Garuda Indonesia also has 1. That Garuda plane was inspected on Monday night, but authorities have not revealed what the results of that inspection were. Now, this does come as passengers who were on this plane in the days before it crashed have revealed their flight was absolutely horrendous. They say the plane was climbing and dropping so badly that people were panicked and vomiting. And while Lion Air insists that that mechanical fault was fixed before the plane went back into service on Monday, the families of the 189 people who have perished now have every right to suspect otherwise. Only a disaster of this scale forces a president to change his schedule. But Joko Widodo not only wanted to inspect the debris of the Lion Air flight himself, he also wanted to meet the men who have worked tirelessly to retrieve what they can from the Java Sea. Families of missing passengers arrived at Jakarta's main port too. They say they just wanted to see proof that the plane had crashed.
Yes, I'm really curious about the all belongings. Also, I just want to make sure everything is true, everything is real.
The return of the main search and rescue ship after a day at sea was sobering. Only 1 body bag was unloaded. Everything else was debris and personal possessions. This section of beach in West Java has become a backup crisis centre. The crash site is about 40 minutes out to sea from here, and there are now dozens of soldiers, search and rescue crews and paramedics on standby, ready to be deployed at any time. Families of the missing have provided their DNA in the hope that the human remains retrieved from the sea belong to someone they love. Is that the most important thing, finding the people who were on board?
Of course, yeah. The important thing is find the victim first, and then the body of the aircraft. Also the black box.
It is God's will. We cannot do anything. We just hope his remains will be found by search and rescue teams soon.
Boeing has sent specialists to Indonesia to help find the fuselage of the plane. Only then can authorities hope to find the black box and more of the dead who it's thought are trapped inside. So this search and rescue operation is due to run for 5 days, but it is fair to say it has now turned into more of a retrieval operation. The condition of the debris that has been found on the sea so far would suggest this was an unsurvivable impact. And now the focus for authorities must be on retrieving the bodies of the dead and finding the fuselage on the seafloor.
Candice Wyatt reporting from Indonesia. A former regional councillor is accused of double murder in what is believed to be a family property dispute that crosses the New South Wales-Victorian border. Gun enthusiast Paul Cause allegedly shot his brother and then his mother before attempting to take his own life. Here's Kimberly Pratt.
It was this expansive, tranquil land that sparked a family property dispute and is where it all turned deadly. The Rufus property became a crime scene yesterday afternoon when police found one of its owners, Ray Cause, had been shot dead. Police allege his younger brother Paul shot him, then drove over an hour across the border into Victoria to their mother's Redcliffs address and shot her too. It's then that the former Wentworth Deputy Mayor is said to have returned to the Rufus property and shot himself. He was later found with a gunshot wound to the chest.
A 55-year-old male had raised the alarm. He is uninjured, and investigations reveal that he'd been held against his will.
That man was the family's real estate agent, Michael Fernandez, who'd been caught up in the bitter dispute over the property that had been in the family for years.
I can say we are not seeking anyone else in relation to these offences.
Police have seized several vehicles and weapons belonging to Paul Cause, an outspoken local councillor and president of Mildura's Sporting Shooters Association of Australia branch. They say they only knew him as a hard-working family man.
Complete shock, disbelief. It's just hard to imagine why this would happen.
The 58-year-old remains in a critical but stable condition at Melbourne's Alfred Hospital as the small communities on either side of the Murray mourn.
This family is fairly well known. It has strong reaches through business, sporting and other aspects of a country community.
Big shock to just a little town, like hard-working family, and then you just never know what's going to happen.
Kimberly Pratt, 10 Eyewitness News.
A Mulgrave father who shot dead his son in an argument over a burnt omelette has been sentenced to 19 years jail. Peter John Smith told police he lost it before loading a shotgun and blasting his son. Emma O'Sullivan was in court.
Peter John Smith shot dead his only son. The 70-year-old wept as the judge explained the long-running tensions and then the minor argument that led to the murder of Andrew Smith. Tensions often flared over the 30-year-old's drug use. The young father had moved back home with his parents. A week before Christmas last year, Andrew threw out a burnt omelette in their Mulgrave backyard, prompting a confrontation. Peter Smith told his wife he was going to kill their son and himself, but she answered, "Yeah, right." He was serious. He assembled and loaded a shotgun, killing his son in a bedroom.
You decided you were going to murder your son, then set about carrying out the steps required to do so.
Justice Andrew Tinney said despite the family's troubles,
there still appeared to be great love and affection between you and Andrew, which magnifies the tragedy of these events.
Peter Smith tried to be frank with police in explaining his crime, stating, "It's over now, I don't have to worry, and it just built up on me, that's all. Too many years of it."
Smith looked at his wife when the judge noted she was also a victim.
Yours was a shocking, senseless and inexcusable crime.
Smith was sentenced to 19 years. With time already served, he'll be 83 when he's eligible for release. Emma O'Sullivan, 10 Eyewitness News.
Now, on a much happier note, the Flemington birdcage marquees are the place to be seen during the Melbourne Cup Carnival. And this year they're promising to dazzle guests with even greater heights of luxury. Among the offerings, a rocket ship and a pool deck. Catherine Firkin checked it out.
Shooting for the stars, guests of Moom will be carried out of this world. In a custom-made spaceship. There'll be no shortage of fast transport or glamour at Lexus. The 3-storey marquee, home to a full-service restaurant and some of the best views at the track.
The years and years that I've come to Spring Racing Carnival, I have never seen a marquee quite like it.
Those on the door list of 1 Oliver Street can expect to kick up their heels. While the Tabcorp marquee will offer floral installations and edible flower gardens.
Guests can have a glass of champagne, pick off a petal and just enjoy themselves.
When it all becomes too much, upstairs in the Pace penthouse, guests can retreat to a master bedroom which features a beauty bar and a $60,000 mattress for perhaps the best power nap you could ever have.
Making a splash in this year's lineup, the VRC's new bird bath, a members bar that means you don't have to be a celebrity to enjoy some VIP luxury.
What do you think guests will get to enjoy here the most?
A bit of fun, a bit of colour, lots of cocktails. It won't be short of a good time, that's for sure.
And the drinks will be flowing in the marquees of newcomers Seppelt Wines and Furphy, with the exclusive Birdcage precinct once again promising a party like no other. Catherine Firkin, 10 Eyewitness News.
Now here's Katie previewing sport, and Hugh Bowman's not a fan of the Cup favourite.
No, Stephen, he thinks the punters have it wrong. Why he believes Yucatan will be beaten. Also good news on the injury front for Melbourne victory. And the Proteas wilt. The PM11 shows how it's done against South Africa.
Thanks, Katie. Coming up after the break. The Premier fishing for votes and hoping to help recreational anglers hook a big one. And trick or treat, but beware the creepy creatures lurking in the shadows this Halloween. Welcome back. The Premier has spent the day angling for votes in Mordialloc, pledging to cut the cost of recreational boating and fishing. But his opponent, Matthew Guy, thinks voters will catch on to his idea to slash hospital parking fees. Nick Etchells reports.
While campaigning, Daniel Andrews doesn't do many TV studio appearances. So his first was an interesting choice.
Talking fishing, talking fishing.
A niche show on community TV with only 130 Twitter followers.
The Premier of Victoria, Daniel Andrews.
It's very, very good to be here.
But it makes sense out here. Mordialloc is a marginal seat and home to many a recreational angler.
We will abolish fully all boat ramp parking and launching fees.
That'll save $15 to $20 per launch.
Boat ramps will be for free for the first time in probably 40 years, and we will no longer be the laughing stock of Australia.
It's a promise the Coalition has also committed to. Both parties are desperate to reel in beachside voters. This election will be won and lost in seats along the Mornington Peninsula, so as the campaign winds on, you can expect to see a lot more announcements in the Sandbelt. This afternoon, electioneering turned to health, the Coalition pledging $40 million to subsidise hospital parking.
For carers, for pensioners, for people who are regularly seeking dialysis, this policy could save people as much as $1,000 a year.
Hours later, Labor committed a whopping $100 million to upgrade the Maryborough Hospital. Fishing for votes can be an expensive business.
You think we're going to catch anything? No.
Nick Etchells, 10 Eyewitness News.
The actress at the centre of allegations Geoffrey Rush behaved inappropriately during a theatre production has been accused of making things up. Erin Jean Norval was grilled by the Oscar winner's barrister in court today while being questioned over why she never complained. The 34-year-old vehemently disagreed with the claims and told the court she didn't come forward during King Lear because Mr Rush's behaviour was enabled by other senior cast members. Ms Norval says actress Robin Nevin was among 4 people she confided in. With summer just around the corner, Victorian emergency chiefs are warning of a dangerous bushfire season ahead. Residents are being urged to check current restrictions, weather conditions, have a plan and prepare their properties.
One of the 3 worst bushfire-prone parts of the globe, and so we know we will have bushfire. People will accuse us of the boy or the girl that cried wolf, but the reality is we will have bushfire. We will probably lose property, and we hope to heck that we don't lose life.
The temperature is expected to reach 33 degrees in Melbourne tomorrow, with the potential for fire bans in some areas of the state. Let's check on the Wednesday traffic. Here's Lisa Woodbrook in the chopper.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm flying over Kew, taking a look at big delays for the Chandler Highway this afternoon as you make your way from Kew all the way into Alphington. Also nearby, the Eastern Freeway, still pretty cosy as you head off Hoddle Street all the way out towards Middleborough Road due to an earlier multi-car collision that has thankfully cleared now. I'm Lisa, thanks to Nissan. We'll be checking the roads again very shortly. Back to you, Stephen.
If you're easily spooked, this story may not be for you, but for children across the nation, it's the night to trick or treat. It's Halloween, and Christina Costalos joined in the fun.
Deep within St Kilda Town Hall, things have become a little creepy. Transformed into 2 walk-through haunted houses, it's sensory overload. There's cauldrons bubbling, 1,500 cockroaches crawling, and caged clowns.
There's Coven, which is all witches and that sort of thing, and then there's Phobias, which is where I will be. I'm going to have live snakes, so that's the snake phobia. Then there's spiders, clowns, claustrophobia, stuff like that, so fun for everyone. 200 beautiful bats hang from the ceiling, and on walls you may meet a few familiar faces. What's your favourite thing about it? Making people swear.
If you dare to enter, beware. 100 scarers will haunt the Spooktober Halloween Festival for 5 nights, a popular place that'll make you shake at the knees.
About 25,000 people, thereabouts, hopefully more.
And you'll be scaring every single one of them?
That's the plan.
Meanwhile, Luna Park will be Luna Dark tonight, full of carnival delights.
So if you're not afraid of the dead, there'll be plenty of terrifying, blood-sucking journalists, vampires that'll meet you after dark.
Menacing monsters will begin roaming from 6 o'clock. Christina Costalos, 10 Eyewitness News.
Ahead in 10 Eyewitness News. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex give it a traditional Maori send-off as they wrap up their first official overseas tour. Mastering a master, actor Rami Malek on his silver screen breakthrough playing Queen frontman Freddie Mercury.
And it's that time of year the weather can be a pain in the neck.
Details shortly from behind the cells of old Melbourne Jail.
Get the advanced tech of Nissan Intelligent Mobility. And now, get 0% finance on popular models. 0%. Only at Nissan.
You're watching 10 Eyewitness News. The Duke and Duchess of Sussex have wound up their visit to New Zealand, their first official tour. One of their final duties was to think up some baby names. It was only for some newborn birds, but it was good practice. Sheila Hager reports from Rotorua.
Men, women and children alike. In a haka that was both a welcome and a farewell to the Duke and Duchess on the final day of this tour. Meghan and Harry each given a Maori cloak. The colours are inspired by the Sussex coat of arms. The coat's maker says Meghan's had a special significance.
But it's about helping them to realise that when they come here, we're here to envelop them and to look after them and to protect if necessary.
These little ones had to wait in the sun to meet the Duke and Duchess, but they say it was worth it.
Meghan shook my hand and I was like so excited. I was going to cry.
And from one little Kiwi to some others, it was off to Rotorua's Kiwi hatchery before yet again heading out to meet the expectant crowd. The Queen once said, "I need to be seen to be believed," and this is perhaps what she meant. For the British royals, trips like this are essential to stave off the Republican movement and keep the younger generations popular with people their own age. And they've certainly done that, crossing the generational divide.
Beautiful, it was so handsome.
Amazing.
Yeah, lovely.
And my 95-year-old grandma's here and he made a big fuss of her. And he had a conversation with her.
A feeling shared by everyone they've met. In New Zealand, Ursula Hager, 10 Eyewitness News.
President Trump and First Lady Melania have made a controversial trip to Pittsburgh to honour 11 Jewish victims killed in a synagogue shooting. They were joined by Ivanka Trump and her husband Jared Kushner, who are both observant Jews. After speaking with the temple's rabbi, the president and his wife placed flowers and small stones on markers for each of the shooting victims. Earlier, hundreds of others also showed up to protest what they claim is the president's refusal to condemn white nationalism. The rock and roll biopic is back, with movies about Elton John and Motley Crue currently in production. But one is hitting the big screen now, Bohemian Rhapsody, about Queen frontman Freddie Mercury. Angela Bishop sat down with the actor who plays him.
It was the real life that seemed like a fantasy. As lead singer of Queen, Freddie Mercury and his rumoured 4-octave vocal range was unlike any other performer. And Rami Malek, who plays him in the new movie Bohemian Rhapsody, knew it.
It was the biggest challenge of my life, but I mean, what an opportunity.
Do it again. One more. How many more Galileos do you want? Roger, there's only room in this band for one hysterical queen.
And so when you first met Brian May and Roger Taylor, what was their reaction to you?
Roger was really difficult to read, I have to say. And, you know, obviously, you're talking to one of their best friends.
I want to give the audience a song that they can perform.
What's the lyric?
In 1985, Freddie gave one of the most legendary rock performances of all time during Queen's set at the Live Aid concert at Wembley Stadium. Rami had to recreate that. No pressure recreating that. Right. And that was the first thing you shot?
That was day one, believe it or not. It was just a baptism by fire. I think we all thought, okay, if we can't do this, they're probably just going to fire us and hire new actors.
Bohemian Rhapsody opens tomorrow. Angela Bishop, 10 Eyewitness News.
Now here's Mike again with a look ahead to tonight's weather.
Fangs, Stephen. 13 to 20 degrees in Melbourne, sort of spooky. Tonight, the weather from behind the cells of Old Melbourne Jail. Open tonight for Halloween, a first. The jail tonight comes to life so humans can experience eerie encounters with the ghosts of yesteryear. A mysterious night of history in the haunted cells of prisoners of the past. Not to mention ghosts riding old elevators so they can lift their spirits. Their favourite game, hide and ghost seek, riding the scary go round and roller ghoster. And vampire puns seem to go from bad to worse. An old vampire, is that someone long in the tooth? Tomorrow hot but not so scary. Stephen?
And there'll be some more later. Thank you, Mike. Next, the latest on our top stories. And it helps to have a study buddy as final exams get underway for VCE students. Welcome back. The latest on our top stories now. A disabled man tells of his shocking ordeal caught on security camera as a hit-run driver slammed into his wheelchair, throwing him into the air. A gun enthusiast accused of going on a deadly rampage across 2 states, killing his mother and brother in a dispute over money. And our first look inside the Flemington Birdcage Marquee. Style and opulence combined with comfort to provide a Melbourne Cup experience that's out of this world. Gluten could soon be on the menu for celiac sufferers if the second trial of a vaccine to treat the disease is successful. The worldwide trial was launched today in Melbourne. We sent our resident celiac, Rachel Carey, along to find out more.
Pizza, pasta and a bakery full of pastry. That's a food dream for some, but for celiacs like Angelique and Jane, it's a gut-churning nightmare.
You know, after you go home after eating out and you get those stomach pains, you know, oh yeah, that wasn't fully gluten-free.
Celiac disease affects around 1 in 70 Australians, but 80% of sufferers don't know they have it. The body reacts to gluten, a protein in many grains including wheat, rye and barley, causing small bowel damage. At the moment, the only cure is a gluten-free diet.
It can be quite isolating in a way. You're never sure if you're going to eat when you go out with your friends.
And we know the gluten-free diet is their only treatment. It's lifelong and it's strict and it's complex.
So Dr. Jason Tyden and his team are looking for alternatives, launching phase 2 of a worldwide vaccine trial in Melbourne today to fight the effects of celiac disease.
So the goal is if we can target this abnormal immune response and retrain the immune system, it will no longer see gluten as a foreign invader that causes inflammation.
Now researchers just need celiacs who are willing to be a part of the trial. Results could be known as early as next year, and if successful, celiacs could be one step closer to indulging again. Trials of the vaccine will also be held in Perth, Adelaide and Brisbane. Rachel Carey, 10 Eyewitness News.
Time for another look at the traffic. It's back to Lisa in the chopper.
Thanks, Stephen. I'm flying over the Ring Road, taking a look at delays for Pascoe Road as you make your way from the Glenroy station all the way up towards the Ring Road and then further out northbound towards Camp Road. Now, the Ring Road itself, not too bad as you make your way Greensborough bound from the Tulla all the way out to the Chicana Tunnel. I'm Lisa, thanks to Nissan. Back to you, Stephen.
VCE students across the state have begun their exams, kicking off today with English. There were some nerves and plenty of anxiety. Trent Dan reports.
You'd forgive some students for seeing double during their exams. It was certainly the case at CRC Sydenham this morning, with 9 sets of twins sitting their English exam.
It's a bit different. We can bounce ideas off each other. We can help.
Finish each other's sentences?
Yeah, at times. Not yeah, sometimes.
Around the state, 43,142 students were head down, bum up, smashing out 3 essays in 3 hours.
My hand's very sore, but yeah, pretty confident about how I went.
Actually, I fell asleep very early last night, and then I woke up at about 5 a.m. this morning, and I
I started to study.
Over the next 3 weeks, 85,069 students will sit exams at 514 centres. Bendigo Secondary College has the most students, with 1,140 participating, while Balmoral Community College has the least, with just 3 students sitting exams. The secret to success?
I actually had to delete Facebook off my phone. My phone, notifications, got to turn them off.
For some, the wait for results will be just as arduous.
A score does not define the person, and that's really important for young people to realise.
The final exam will be on the 21st of November.
Well, some Year 12 students have no idea what they want to do when they finish their exams. Some do. Just like Bella, she knows exactly what she wants to do. She wants to be a journalist. Take it away, Bella.
Bella Tolhurst, 10 Eyewitness News.
Excellent work. Now here's Katie with Wednesday's Sport.
Thanks very much, Stephen. We have a clear-cut favourite for the Melbourne Cup, but star jockey Hugh Bowman is not convinced. We check in with the internationals next, as a plucky PM's 11 takes it up to South Africa. And good as gold, history is made in the FFA Cup.
Get the advanced tech of Nissan Intelligent Mobility. And now, get 0% finance on popular models. 0%. Only at Nissan.
Good evening. On the eve of the Flemington Cup Carnival, star jockey Damien Oliver has suffered a bizarre injury at Bendigo. It happened a short time ago when his ride in the last, Lucky Fish, was heading out of the mounting yard and took off quickly, catching Oliver's foot on the gate. The horse was scratched, with the star hoop wincing in pain before receiving medical treatment. He's booked to ride Red Verdon in the Melbourne Cup. After claiming the Cox Plate, Hugh Bowman has set his sights on winning a first Melbourne Cup aboard Marmello. And he's livened up the Cup debate by downplaying the favourite Yucatan's chances. Rob Waters has more.
Hugh Bowman only committed to Marmello after riding it in track work. They were at it again this morning, and the champion jockey liked what he saw.
He's a bit stronger this year, there's no doubt about that. So more mature. Obviously last year he was 4, this year he's 5.
Marmello started equal favourite in the Melbourne Cup last year after an impressive lead-in the Caulfield Cup. But his cup run at Flemington didn't go well, and they are taking a different approach this year.
Next week will prove me wrong that we could have done with an extra run, but you know, I've always felt with the horse he runs well fresh.
I take comfort in knowing that he's been over here already and travelled well, and I know what he's, you know, I know he's capable of performing fresh off the plane. I guess had he have not done that, it'd be another question mark.
Yucatan impressed punters and bookies enough to be made the Cup favourite after his Herbert Power win, but not everyone believes it's the one to beat.
Can't see any of the horses that he beat figuring in the finish of the Melbourne Cup, to be perfectly honest. So, although it was an impressive win, he was probably against. Not against the main contenders.
Kieran McAvoy knows what it takes to win a Melbourne Cup. He rides the lightly raced cross counter, who finished off his work at Werribee this morning strongly.
Sure, you'd probably like him to have 20 runs rather than 7, but that's why he's got him with a nice lightweight. He might be just ahead of the handicapper, you never know.
And Corey Brown says he's growing more confident of Magic Circle's chances, despite one concern.
I definitely think he can do it. I've got a little bit of a query with the weight. I would have loved a lighter weight on his back, but he's definitely the right horse to do it.
Rob Waters, 10 Eyewitness News.
Rival trainers were seen red today after local hope Red Alto took out the Bendigo Cup. It was a last throw at the stumps for many in the field, hoping to qualify for the Melbourne Cup. But it was the 70-1 hope that upstaged the field.
Red Alto took a narrow lead from Sir Charles Road. Lord Fandango down the outside. Red Alto just from Del Harold, who's coming back, but Red Alto in a boil over. Wins the Jayco Bendigo Cup from Del Harold and Sir Charles Road.
It was a win for local trainer Brent Stanley and jockey Michael Walker. In a ray of hope for the Australians this summer, South Africa has wilted with the bat against the Prime Minister's 11 in Canberra. The tourists made just 173, with Aidan Markram top scoring with 47. Usman Khadir and Jason Behrendorff led the wicket takers. Future stars aligned for high fives with Prime Minister Scott Morrison before Behrendorff struck twice in the opening over, removing Quinton de Kock and Reza Hendricks. Behrendorff also claimed captain Faf du Plessis for just 13 before teenage medium pacer Blake Edwards.
Chance for a catch, and it's taken very, very nicely. Sam Haslett, take a bow.
So that's a great catch.
The tourists all out in the 42nd over. Steve Smith will be padding up in the Arabian Desert this summer. The former Aussie skipper has signed with the UAE's T20 League, which will be played at the same time as the Big Bash. It comes as former teammates prepare for the first ODI of the summer. Here's Emma Lawrence.
More support for the bans to be lifted.
I'd personally love to have them back in the game because I think it's great.
But Chris Lynn knows there's a reason for the chorus.
You know, if we're winning games cricket for Australia, I don't think we're talking about this right now.
The Aussies didn't win a test or a T20 against Pakistan, so the pressure is on for the upcoming one-day internationals against South Africa. Not to mention the fact they've won just 2 of their last 16 ODIs.
I think we just played reckless cricket over in the UAE, so we want to play fearless cricket, not reckless, and I think there's a massive difference there.
Lynn's recall to the one-day side comes off the back of an incredible JLT series. He averaged just over 75 and is hopeful there could be some red ball cricket in the near future.
Yeah, it's sort of like you've got to walk before you can run, so I'm at that stage at the moment. I don't want to get too far ahead of myself, but if I do happen to score runs in these next 3 games, then obviously I'll put my hand up for a test selection.
After a horror run with shoulder and neck injuries, the big hitter admits he's still very apprehensive.
I probably won't be diving at all, to be fair. It's something not worth risking. I think if the ball is touch and go, then I'm better off just letting it go for 4 or whatever it may be than potentially missing 4 to 6 months with a shoulder injury.
The 3-match series begins on Sunday at Perth's Optus Stadium. Emma Lawrence, 10 Eyewitness News.
There's been some welcome injury news for Melbourne Victory ahead of its grand final rematch against Newcastle. Georg Niedermeyer managed to train with teammates today, despite taking a hard blow to the head in Sunday's loss to Perth. Victory will need to rejig its attack this weekend after losing Kenny Athu to a hamstring injury.
Look, we got, definitely good backups. It was unlucky with Kenny's injury, but, we have backups and we just got to go out there, like I said before, and do what we're going to do.
Swedish national Ola Toivonen continues to train away from the squad as he tries to overcome a calf injury. The Adelaide United boys have spent the day recovering after a long night of celebrating their 2-1 FFA Cup final win over Sydney. Craig Goodwin was the centre of attention today, and for good reason, after he scored 2 absolute rockets last night.
Goodwin! Oh my goodness! That is a stunning goal, this time with the right foot of Craig Goodwin.
I think generally on my left I can hit him pretty sweet, but on my right that's as good as I've hit, so yeah, hopefully I can get a couple more of them during the season.
The Reds take on the Mariners this Sunday, while Sydney has an even shorter turnaround, facing our own Melbourne City on Friday night. Serving for the match can be stressful at the best of times, let alone if someone suddenly becomes ill in the crowd. But as you would expect from the 14 Grand Slam winner, Novak Djokovic handled it with class.
It's doing the right thing, of course, just making sure that the abuse stopped and the tennis stopped too.
Djokovic even fetched the 6th spectator a towel before he was taken from the stands. The Serbian then returning to serve out the match. So for keeping cool in a crisis, the Joker can have our play of the day. Good on him. A gentleman indeed.
Some nice work there. Thank you,
Yeah.
Katie. Mike's next with the weather details, and it may be a little frightening. Welcome back. Mike's a little off colour tonight, but he's still fronted for the weather.
Yes, thank you, Stephen. Good evening once again from old Melbourne Jail. The place will scare the bejesus out of you until around 11 o'clock tonight. The favourite room at your house may be the living room, but perhaps not here. But I do believe in love and first bite. A couple of photos now that have been sent to Mike's Picks at network10.com.au, and with a Halloween sort of feel to it. The first from Lynn Hamilton, and then, I love it, it is Banjo Patterson Park from Yolanda Leigh. So 13 degrees, man, it was a mild start to your day. 20 degrees the maximum, no complaints there. That is average for this time of year, but the day today was far from average. Outside right now, 19 degrees. The humidity is 65%. That wind blowing from the south-southwest. Around Melbourne today, have a look at some of those numbers. And for the most part, the low 20s and fairly cloudy. Across our state, a few light showers fell mostly around Aries Inlet in the southwest this morning. Temperatures in the south were close on average. In the north, a different story, up to 11 above the norm. Around the country, all capitals were dry. Adelaide scoring 35 degrees, a sizzler. Sydney 27, Hobart 10 degrees cooler. The weather charts, a high pressure system near southwest Victoria moving eastwards will direct hot northerlies for our warmest day since before winter, the 40s north of the Murray. The rainfall chart, as well as the heat, there'll be showers and storms tomorrow and Friday across Victoria. I have no idea why I'm doing this accent. Interstate tomorrow, Adelaide 36 after 35 today. Hobart tomorrow 21, Sydney 27, then 37 on Friday. Canberra 33 the next couple of days. Across our state, close to 40 degrees in the northwest. In fact, it'll reach 30 in most districts. As well as it being warm, it'll be showery in southern and mountain areas. In the southwest, damaging gusty winds, and it will become stormy. Falls mostly under 15 millimetres the next 2 days. A bit more, though, for the southwest. A strong wind warning tomorrow for the East Gippsland coast. The first total fire ban for the season, and not surprisingly for the Mallee. Around Melbourne, fog about the hills as we welcome November. Yeah, wear something cool. Look at those numbers. And on the bays, we'll have northeasterly winds of 20 knots, they'll 10 northwesterly, waves at 2 metres. And at a forecast for Transylvania. A warm one, 33 tomorrow after a 14-degree start. It'll be our warmest day since March 10. There could be showers, a 40% chance of a millimetre or two, and it will be very muggy, very Queensland-like with northwesterly winds. On to Friday, hot and sticky, 23 to 30, with showers, possibly a storm, 2 to 8 mils. Saturday, cloudy, 19. Sunday, 23. And then it's 26. Cup day, 22. And Wednesday, 18 degrees. So that is your forecast. Have a wonderful night tonight and look forward to seeing your smiling faces tomorrow. Stephen?
Watch out for those wooden stakes. Thanks, Mike. And that's 10 Eyewitness News for Wednesday. Stay with us for updates.